Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from beautiful Salem. And last night on our vlog we discussed the idea that there's usually not a right and wrong way of doing most things, particularly in magic, but rather a spectrum of ways that things can be done successfully. Now, that's not to say that there aren't certain things that are going to be more productive than others, but in general, what works best for you is really what you should do. But I thought I would take tonight to talk about some of the things that I recommend to people as being very important. And let me begin by saying that although I recommend these, I don't consider that there's only one way to do them, but rather that they're important things to do in any of many different ways. In my books, I usually do give one way, but not because that's the only way it can be done. For example, I think that it's extremely important to clear and release excess energy on a regular basis. Very early in my career, I encountered a lot of what I used to call glassy-eyed dead psychics. There were people who had worked for years as psychics and basically had burned themselves out. And I was told at the time, and believe to this day, they did this by never releasing the energy that they were building up and using. And it tended to fry out their psychic systems, their spiritual energy circuits. So I have always very strongly recommended, as I was taught myself, to clear and release excess energy both before and after any spiritual working, whether psychic or magical or meditational or anything else. And also just to do it on a regular basis. And I think that this is an extremely good policy. Not that it's necessarily the only way things can be done, but I think it's a pretty good policy. Shielding is a very important thing. Shielding, having strong psychic barriers, barriers that let the good in but keep negativity out, and keeping those barriers strong, keeping the barriers of your selfhood strong. One of the very valuable exercises that I was taught many, many years ago, and it's in my book somewhere, is looking for tears in your aura and repairing them. Because as we go through more or less traumatic events, we often will disrupt the energy surrounding us and lose parts of it through these disruptions, which can be visualized as tears or rips, and can be repaired basically by filling them with light and reintegrating them into the whole. So these are a couple of things that I recommend very strongly for people. And I've always found them extremely beneficial myself, and I think pretty much anyone would. You know, for many years I've been writing on psychic and spiritual things. For many more years I've been teaching them, and for still more years I've been practicing them. And I have to say that I really have enjoyed this life. And the years that I have spent teaching, I have found to be very beneficial to me in a spiritual sense. And hopefully they've been beneficial to others also. One of the things I found most interesting out of my career is when I sat down to write the first degree materials, how hard it was to remember what one does not know as a first degree. The first drafts were full of jargon that you learn as you go through a career, as a pagan, as a high priest, that one does not know when they come in the door. And I had to go back and really look at that, remove it, and change the tenor of the material to really make it applicable to people who did not have a background. And I was very pleased with what came out of that. And to this day, I think that it's important for us as a movement to be accessible to people and not to be an in crowd, so to speak, but rather to be an open and, well, an accessible community. And one of the reasons is that when people feel that you're a cliquish or an exclusionary community, they don't really care what you're about. They just don't like you unless they're part of that clique. And I think that we see, in part, this reaction to some areas of our community, even within the community. And I really think that by being more open, by being more accessible, by being more friendly to people, in our materials, in the way that we conduct ourselves, and in particular the way we conduct our gatherings and our ceremonies, etc., I think we really break down a lot of prejudice, which otherwise remains. So, those are my thoughts for tonight. I hope you find them interesting and useful, and until next time, may your blessed be.